Jens Nebo. From Germany, the man who is yet to win a top fuel championship, Rico Antes. From Great Britain, Gary Page, more suited to a funny car than top fuel, and his co-patriot, Andy Carter, in his second season now as a top fuel driver. And finally, Pelle Lindelöf from Sweden, a man who won the championship in 1993, here to do battle. So this is how the grid looks. The quickest qualifier, that was Jens Nebo, meets the slowest qualifier, Germany's Rico Antes. All sorts of problems here this weekend. So our first pair then, it is Nebo, 1995 champion, against Rico Antes.
We have built a new body on the dragster and a new front wing. I have problems keeping the front wheel down on the track. So we built a new front wing, and we have a new clutch system and a new fuel system. But that's everything. And yesterday I have some problems with the clutch and the idle on the engine. We have a delay because of the weather, and the engine gets cold down on the starting area, and we have to stay there and warm it up before the burnout. And the idle went up, and the clutch is get warm and what you call it, locked up. So I couldn't get it out of reverse and get into the staging. My target is 520 or something, and 278 miles per hour, I hope.
Well, everybody seems to have been having problems here this weekend. Certainly Jens Nebo was our number one qualifier, having run a 5:39. And Rico this year with a new crew chief, not from America as he's had it before, but from Norway. Rune Field, an acknowledged funny car driver, now is turning his hands to a multi-crew chief. Not only is he working for Rico Antes as a crew chief, also for Gary Page, not only for Gary in the top fuel car, but also for Gary Page in the top fuel funny car. A very, very busy man. So here we go, looking for traction on the start line, and all sorts of problems on that start line for Rico Antes. And did you see that little twitch from Jens Nebo? Well, he runs through 6.34, but if we watch that again, as Rico comes dribbling through at the end of the run, we'll see that Jens Nebo crosses the outside line. So he automatically gets eliminated, would you believe, even though he's won the race. And it is Rico Antes who's going completely sideways from the start line. All sorts of problems from both drivers, and only now does Jens Nebo accelerate. Well, Vivica Avested is the next person up, so let's have a word with her.
During the winter time we went over to the States and for 2 races in Florida and Texas. I mean, in Texas we ran 5:03 and 291 miles per hour. And I mean, 291 miles per hour, it's fast.
Now, can we expect that sort of thing over here this season in Europe?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this weekend we thought our goal was to try to make the first 4-second run, but I mean, you can see the weather, it's so cold, so it's going to be very difficult today.
Well, Vivica's up against Great Britain's Gary Page, but not for long. If you look very, very carefully under that engine, you can see fuel dropping down onto the ground, and the ever-vigilant start line crew shut Gary Page down. He does not want to run those slicks onto a wet surface. That could send that car anywhere. So it's a bye run then for the Valvoline car of Vivica Avested, and she was our number 2 qualifier with a 5:47 and cracks off a 5:33, 246 miles per hour, the quickest run so far of the meeting. From Great Britain, Andy Bad Boy Carter, the man from Chesham in Buckinghamshire, up against the man from Sweden, Pelle Lindelöf, a past champion at Top Fuel Racing, and Pelle, who's been in the sport, would you believe, in this class since 1981, makes no mistake at all. He runs through 5.66, a reaction time of 0.56, 254 miles per hour. Well, that will give Vivica Avested something to think about. But as the day wears on, she's happy in the knowledge that she has run the quickest so far. So let's turn our attention now to the Top Fuel semi-finals. Rico Antes is on a bye run through into the final, and Vivica Avested is against Pelle Lindelöf. So it's German into the final, and one of the Swedish drivers will be against him. This is the sound of a Top Fuel engine, and this is the man who knows he's got it all to do. He's up against the fastest lady in Europe. Vivica Avestedt has run 5:05 in this car. In America this year, she's run 5:03. Pelle Lindelöf, he's got to try and cut a good light here, but it's problems for him away from the start line. And Vivica lights up those rear tyres, just pops out the chute and goes through. She's going to save that Valvoline car for the final. And the final puts her against the German Rico Anthes.
Gena smoked the tires, and I mean it was hard tire shakes too. So, and I couldn't see Pelle, the other car. So therefore, I mean, maybe I had the throttle too long time. We're still working more downforce, so see if it works better this round. We don't know yet. It's very hard to tune the car when it's so bad conditions. So I mean, we will see.
It's the first race for us, and we were hoping to, well, at least find some ideas how our work would proceed and how we are doing at this time, but we've never been able to put a full run in, because every time we try to, it's either the track is wet or the rain stops us from doing so. So we're still sitting here and waiting, and at this time a little bit bored.
Well, the crew round the car, and they've got problems already. It's an off-board starter which clips onto the blower belt, which fires it up, and that is a problem. It is just not working. And I tell you what, I would not like to be in that crew when Rico gets out of the car. He is going to be one very, very angry German Top Fuel driver. And down go the gloves. It's all over. Vivica Avestedt is the winner, and she is on her own here, lights up the car away from the start line, and that was her win. Running through there a 12:21 time, which means nothing in Top Fuel racing, but she gets maximum points on this first round of the European Top Fuel Championship.
And as the sun set on the opening round at Centre Pod, the Top Fuel Circus were already setting their sights on the next round, back in the UK at the Avon Park Raceway. Also newly refurbished, looking for track record times. John Price picks up the action.
In our first round, the number one qualifier, Rico Anthes from Germany, meets Great Britain's Gary Page. Jens Nebo was the number two qualifier and meets another Brit, Andy Carter, in the first round. And two Swedes, Vivica Avestedt, who was the number three qualifier, meets Pelle Lindelöf. So this is our first pair coming up to the line. Britain's Gary Page. He's up against Rico Anthes, the man everybody thinks will run the first four in Europe. Well, Gary Page has only just moved up into this class. Let's see how he gets on against Rico Anthes. Leaves the line well, but immediately goes up in smoke. Rico has a problem with his car. It looks like one of the banks of cylinders went down there. Watching in slow motion, just look at the power of these 5,000 horsepower engines. Absolutely twitching those chassis. Problem for Gary. Rico, luckily, with that problem for Gary, also has a problem, but takes the win. He moves into the next round. Well, here's Jens Nebo, the young man from Denmark, liked by everybody, up against the man from Great Britain, Andy Carter. Now, Andy has moved up into Top Fuel from racing Ford Pops, would you believe, and is starting to carve a bit of a name for himself. But Nebo drives through a lot of tyre smoke there to take a very, very convincing win with a run of 5.38 at 271 miles per hour. And you can see here that Andy Carter has problems on the start line, and that's once again just as well for Jens Nebo. He overpowered the track. This is our final pair of semi-finalists in Top Fuel. The Valvoline car of Vivica Avestedt against fellow countryman Pelle Lindelöf. Well, Vivica's been having some problems this season, but Pelle breaks on the start line and allows Vivica to take a very, very smoky win, but at what a time, 5.29. 232 miles per hour. That's the quickest time that we've ever seen here at Avon Park. Well, we move on into the one and only race in the semi-finals in Top Fuel, purely because Rico Anthes has got a bye run through into the final by virtue of the fact that he was our number one qualifier. Jens Nebo and Vivica Avested have to battle to see who goes into the final to race him. Now, Vivica was the lady who beat Rico in the first final of the year at Santa Pod. So it will be interesting to see whether she can get back into the final again, and they're away together. And once again, Jens Nebo goes up in smoke, but a problem for Vivica Avested. She will not be going into the final. And Jens takes the win with a 5.55 at 262 miles per hour. Very, very consistent. So our final is set up like this. Rico gets through on a bye run, and Jens Nebo beats Vivica Avested to meet Rico for the championship points. Well, here we go into the final. Everybody's waiting to see Rico Antes against Jens Nebo in Top Fuel. Bearing in mind that Jens Nebo last year was the Rookie of the Year and also ended up, as he's just told us, the #1 European Top Fuel champion. Rico Antes, always there in the chase, always looking for that championship. Will he get it this year? Got a new crew chief with him this year. That's Runa Field. Runa working very, very hard. Also crews for Gary Page. So a very hard-working man indeed. Jens Nebo, though, missed the consistency. Always runs the numbers and is always a very hard competitor. So coming up to the start line then, Jens Nebo from Denmark, Rico Antes from Germany, and Rico, of course, was second in that championship round at Santa Pod at the main event. So looking this time for major points to take over that championship lead. Vivica Avested standing behind there, looking on as these two approach the start line, controlled by the Christmas tree in the centre of the track. This is going to tell whether their crew chiefs have got the clutches set right on these cars, whether they can transfer all of the power from these 5,000 horsepower engines onto this quarter-mile stretch of track here at Avon Park Raceway. And away first is Rico Antes. Tyre smoke for Jens Nebo, but he just goes through at the top end. It's Nebo who takes it by a whisker at the top end of the track, 584 to a 592. And that was so close.
After Avon Park, the whole Top Fuel set, we're now preparing for the big one, Europe's biggest drag racing festival, the Nitro Olympics in Hockenheim, probably most famous for its spectacular night show.
Well, night time also means Top Fuel qualifying. And having spoken to one or two of the drivers, as you can see, Jens Nebo, always a great favourite with the crowd, waving the Danish flag as he backs up from the burnout through the disco, the rock and roll lights, looking absolutely superb. Having spoken to one or two of the drivers here, they're not too certain about going flat out away from the start line, because at the end of this quarter-mile run, it is absolutely pitch black. We get all the fireworks down this end, they get no light at the top end at all. So that was Andy Carter and Jens Nebo just giving us a flame show away from the start line. Those huge headers full of nitro flame reaching out towards the sky. Vivica Avested, always the darling of the crowd here at Hockenheim, running alongside the man now sponsored by Hesburger, which I understand is the Finnish equivalent of McDonald's. That's Tommy Happanen. And once again, clicking off at the 8-mile mark and just trickling through at the top end. Well, will Rico Antes do that? Not one little bit of it. Rico came out here for his qualifying run and went absolutely flat out the whole way along the quarter mile and managed to get the number 3 qualifying spot with a run of 5.16. He was really gunning for that number 1 spot of Gary Page. Well, the crowd really, really appreciated that. That took a lot of courage to do that, and indeed, Rico damaged the car severely, taking out the wing, the side swipes, and even the canards at the front. The big news is the number 1 qualifier here in Top Fuel is Great Britain's Gary Page. Page's team very, very confident for this weekend.
You come along here, you snatch #1 position by 100th of a second, and it's a new track record.
Oh yeah, I mean it was. We knew the car would run well, as I said yesterday when we had a problem with the magneto, so we knew the car would step up, but we didn't think it'd run that quick. It's a different experience. I mean, I've been awake since 4 o'clock this morning, and it's never got me like that in funny car. So I don't know. It's very different.
Consistency?
Yeah, we haven't changed anything. We've got Andy Carter in the first round. You know, anything can happen, so we're just going to go out there and try and run the same as we did yesterday.
Number 2 qualifier from Sweden, Vivica Avested, with a time of 5.16. The German Rico Antes here on his home turf in the number 3 spot. He obtained that time in the dark last night, causing lots of damage to his car, running a 5.16 into the pitch black. Number 4 qualifier, the current Top Fuel champion Jens Nebo from Denmark, recording a time of 5.23. Tommy Happinen from Finland in 5th spot, and the man down the bottom of the pile, Britain's Andy Carter. And he meets Gary Page in the first round, Vivica Avested, Tommy Happinen from Finland, and the German Rico Antes against the existing Danish champion Jens Nebo. So here they come up to the start line for the first pair, and it is the 2 red cars of the 2 Brits. Gary Page, the 39-year-old air conditioning engineer from Bedfordshire, who must be feeling very, very confident here, having run that 5.15 during qualifying, up against Andy Carter. And of course Carter into Top Fuel Dragsters, now in his 2nd season in this car, and looking to get this car running properly. He's had a lot of problems here at Hockenheim this weekend. Can he match the performance that Gary Page has been turning in Runa Field's Mac Tools sponsored car? And they're away together. But there's a problem for Andy Carter. That's a blower belt going on the Eichel Hoses sponsored machine. Gary Page takes the win, 5.30. And let's just look at that explosion again on Andy Carter's car. That put paid to his challenge. Here's our next pair. Vivica Avested against this man, the Hesburger sponsored Finnish driver Tommy Happinen. Happinen was our number 5 qualifier, running a 5.35. Problems this weekend. Vivica, a 5.16. She was leading the pack at one stage with that time, to be eclipsed by Gary Page in 2nd spot in qualifying. Has she got the measure of this man in the opposing lane? And a big explosion from the Valvoline car. She takes the win, 5.22, but there's a lot of damage to that car, and that is a massive engine explosion. These nitro-burning 5,000 horsepower engines absolutely grenading as she makes her way down the quarter mile. Well, here's our next pair. And as Germany's Rico Antes burns out, he knows he's got a real fight on his hands here with the current Top Fuel champion, Jens Nebo, in the opposing lane. Antes tried so hard to get that number 1 qualifying spot from Gary Page and drove into the darkness, really damaging his Lux Clutches machine. But now let's see as we come up to the start line. The German furthest away from the camera. It's going to be close. These are our numbers 3 and 4 qualifiers. And it is Rico who takes the win. And it's a track record 5.08. No wonder the team are celebrating along with this massive German crowd here. Very partisan crowd. And let's just look at that again. That is a track record and a best ever time for the German Rico Antes. Let's just have a quick word with him.
How happy are you?
I would say, what can you expect? I mean, I'm as happy as one can be that has 3 years jinx on the car, and now finally it's kind of got off my back and left me real good and relaxed on that run, and it went perfect.
It looked a perfect run.
Yeah, it was so smooth. I couldn't believe it was so fast, because it felt like it was, well, okay, but not that fast.
Okay, we're now into the semi-finals of Top Fuel, and this is becoming interesting now. Rico Antes, who this weekend has run his quickest ever at 5.08, meets Vivica Avested from Sweden, who has previously run in this car in America a 5.03 and in the UK a 5.05, but she had a lot of problems in that preceding run. There was an engine explosion. She's out of the car. Well, this is a turn up for the books. She's lost far on the start line, so it's a solo run through for Rico Antes, and he is not hanging about at all. Runs a 5.18, and Vivica acknowledging the cheers of this big crowd here. Well, that's drag racing. And the big one, Top Fuel final, looking for points in the 1996 championship. And can the German do it in front of his home crowd? Everybody sitting in this crowd here with their fingers crossed. Rico Antes, the man who produces the show here, up against Great Britain's Gary Page, and certainly a difference in burnout there. Rico going with that long smoky burnout. Gary, I wonder if there's a problem with the red dragster. They're away together, Rico out in front. And that's the blower belt come out for Gary Page's car. He's lost. It's Rico who takes the win, 5.40. That's what gave Gary all of the problems, the broken blower belt. And are the German crowd happy? You bet they are. Well, at last he's done it in front of his home crowd. Rico Antes takes the honours here at Hockenheim 1996. And let's let the winner talk us out of our programme. You are so happy. I have never seen you this happy, this pumped up. It was a good run for you as well.
Yeah, and I still don't believe that time, a 5:40. The car sounded good, it ran all the way, it was pulling hard, and I can't believe it ran only a 5:40. I don't know what was it.
You didn't get the official European record, you didn't quite back it up, but you've got the track record here. That must make your whole weekend for you.
Sure, that makes it. That makes a whole week and more than that.
Hockenheim next year, going to be there?
Oh, sure, I will be there. I hope you will be there.
We'll be there. Everyone will be there. Rico Antes, well done.
Thank you. Bye-bye.